Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I have 7 all new Halloween decor DIYs. I was really hoping to get this video out a little bit sooner, but better late than never. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Now let's go ahead and get right into it. First up is DIY number 1. For this one, I started with this 12 by 12 wood round. I believe this is from Hobby Lobby, and I started to stain it, but then I changed my mind, and I'm just going in with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory, and I'm painting the front and back of it. I'm then going to be using this unfinished witch's hat from Dollar Tree, but it did have a hole in the top, so here I'm just using some wood filler to fill that in, and then once it was dry, I just sanded that down smooth with some sandpaper. I then went in and painted the entire witch's hat with some black chalk paint, and then I'm going to be using these unfinished wood words. This one says Welcome Witches. These ones are from Michael's this year, and I just took my black paint marker and I'm coloring in the word welcome and then also the word witches, but I'm leaving the broom at the bottom blank because I'm going to be painting the broomstick with a color from Folk Art called Burnt Umber. It's just like a dark brown, and then for the bottom of the broom I'm using the color Raw Sienna from Folk Art. Before I started putting everything together, I did want to give my wood round a more like rustic, distressed look, so I went in with that burnt umber color on a stencil brush and just dry brushed it over the top of the entire round. Once I had that done, I then used some hot glue on the back of the welcome word to attach it right in the top middle of my wood round, and then right underneath that I attached the witch's word right underneath the welcome word. Then I needed to attach my witch's hat, and for this I just put it on the top right hand side, and then I added these 2 little spider wood stickers. These ones are from Dollar Tree. I just thought they would be a cute little detail on the bottom, and again just attach them with hot glue. To create my hanger for my sign, I used 2 strands of jute and just tied them together and hot glued them along the back of the round. And this is what my Welcome Witches sign looks like all finished. I paired it with one of my black wreaths, and I think it just looks so cute, and it was super easy to do as well. Next up is DIY number 2. For this one, I'm going to be using these 3 unfinished wooden Halloween pieces from Michael's. I got these last year, but I believe they have them again this year. And then for all of the portions that are like underneath that show through, I'm going to be painting all of those black on all 3 of the cutouts. Then for the bat on the outside or like the top portion, I just mixed a dark gray colored paint and painted the entire bat. Then for the pumpkin, I ended up using a color called Pueblo from Folk Art. And then for the skeleton, obviously I'm going to do a white or ivory. For this one, I did do Waverly's ivory colored paint. I'm then going to be using this scrap wooden piece that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to be using some of my Folk Art wood tint in the color Walnut to stain the entire piece. I had this a trick or treat sign in my craft stash for a few years, and I just haven't used it yet, but I thought it would be really cute if I added it on the front of this wooden piece. So here I just used some hot glue to attach it right in the center, and then I'm placing my bat on the top of my wooden piece and just using hot glue to attach the bat, the skeleton on the left side, and then my pumpkin on the right side. This is what it looks like all finished. I think it turned out really cute. Again, another super easy project, and I just love it so much. Moving right along into DIY number 3. For this one, I actually cut these 3 triangle shapes out with my jigsaw out of some scrap wood that I had in my garage. It was the first time that I'd ever used a jigsaw. I just recently got one, and I think I did an okay job cutting these out. So the first thing I did was use some painter's tape to mark off the bottom portion of my triangle, and then I painted it with the maize color from Waverly, and then I just switched the painter's tape and marked it off around the entire triangle, and I did the same steps for all 3 of my triangles. So for the next one, I'm using the color Pueblo for the center portion of my triangle. And then once I have that painted, I'm going in with Ivory from Waverly to paint the top of my triangle. As you can tell, I'm making candy corns. So once I have all 3 of my triangles painted, I did want to give them a little bit of like a rustic feel. So I went in with the color Burnt Umber on a stencil brush, and I just very lightly dry brushed that over all of my triangles. Here's my candy corn pieces all finished. I love how they turn out, and I cannot wait to use my jigsaw to create more projects because it was super easy to use. Now moving right along into DIY number 4. For this one, I'm going to be using this chalkboard frame from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start by taking off the back of the frame and then removing that inside cardboard piece. I could have left the frame just like this, but I did want to add some dimension to it. So here I'm using some black chalk paint and I'm painting the entire frame. And then once that was all dry, I went in with some of this metallic rub-on paint, and I'm just using some paper towel to apply it and just kind of buffing it out. I think it just adds so much more once those scrolly pieces at the top have the gold on them. The black really just makes the entire frame pop. I'm using this unfinished wooden ghost that I got from Joann Fabrics this year, and I'm painting him with the Waverly paint in the color Ivory. And then once he was all dry, I'm just going to be placing everything back into my frame. And then on the front of the frame, I'm going to be using some hot glue to attach my ghost right in the center. Here's my ghost picture all finished. I love the new look of the frame. I think it looks so much more spooky with the added black, and this project was super easy to do. Next up is DIY number 5. For this one, I'm going to be using this old country style house that was basically falling apart. I found it at Goodwill for $3.99, and I thought it would be perfect to create a spooky haunted house. So the first thing I'm doing is using some of my Waverly chalk paint in the color Ink, and I'm just going to be painting the entire house. I then took my castle colored paint from Folk Art. It's just kind of like a gray color, and I went around all of the edges of the house, like around the roof and the sides, and then also around all of the edges of the window just to add some more dimension back in. Then I took that same castle color on a stencil brush and dry brushed it all over the house, the roof, the entire thing, just to make it look kind of old and like falling apart. And then once I had the gray color on, I thought it would be a good idea to add some brown just to make it look more old and dirty. I'm going to be using these 2 signs from Dollar Tree to create the base for my house to go on. I cut them down to the size that I wanted them to be. I needed enough space to have a graveyard fit around my house. So I'm just going to be using hot glue right on the base piece, and then I'm just placing my house on top of that to attach everything together. Now I need to start creating all of my little detail pieces. So here I have these balsa wood strips that I thought would be perfect to use to board up all of my windows and that larger door in the front. So here I'm just using some scissors to cut the balsa wood down to the sizes that I need to board up all of my windows. Balsa wood is super soft, so it's just really easy to cut with my scissors. Once I had all of those pieces cut, I then went in with my Folk Art wood tint in the color Walnut and stained each and every one of my pieces. I then used hot glue to attach all of my little wood pieces on my doors and windows. I thought it would be better if some of the pieces were shorter than the others, so they're just going to be kind of all different sizes. Then for the one I'm putting over the door, it's a little bit larger, and I just wrote the words "keep out" with a paint marker, and then I'm just putting that over the door in a diagonal shape. I just thought that added a really cute detail, and then I finished boarding up all of the doors and windows. Another added detail piece I thought would be a good piece to add is this ladder that I had in my stash. I've had it forever, just really haven't had a use for it. So I thought it would be really cute if I just cut it up to make it look really old and falling apart. And once I had it all cut up, I stained it, and I'm going to be setting it aside until I attach it later. Next, I took a piece of this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting it down pretty small because I'm going to be creating a banner, or actually 2 different banners to go on my house. So here I'm just cutting out little triangles along the entire burlap piece. And again, I did 2 of these for 2 banners. Next, I'm using these unfinished wood fence pieces. These are from Hobby Lobby. And as you can see, I'm just pulling the fence pieces off of the attached parts on the back. And then I'm going to be cutting the tops of the fences off so that they're a lot shorter. And I'm going to be creating 2 different balconies to go on the 2 front windows of my house. So once I have all of my pieces cut, I ended up using some pieces of balsa wood. I'm using 2 pieces each to go kind of like the base of my balcony. So I'm just getting those cut down, and then once I have all 4 pieces cut, I'm going to be attaching 2 pieces to each other. So these 2 pieces are going to be the base for one balcony, and then the other 2 pieces that I glued together are going to be the base for the second balcony. I'm now going to start attaching the top fence pieces that I'd cut down to the sides of my balcony, and I'm just attaching them with hot glue. And I did do them not super straight. I would do some kind of turn to the left, some kind of turn to the right, just to make them look old and falling apart. I did 8 of them total, 6 on the front and then 2 of those pieces on the sides. Again, I did them for 2 different balconies, and then now I'm just going through and painting both of them black, and then I'm using hot glue to attach both of them underneath the 2 front windows. I didn't think you could see the balconies very well, so I went through and added some of that castle color on both of the balconies just to make them pop a little bit more. And then I added some Spanish moss inside of the balconies just to make it look kind of like old and spooky and have more detail. I'm using these ghosts that were attached to these little boo stickers from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to be cutting the ghosts off of the word boo. I used, I think, 3 or 4 of them total. I just really wanted to have a ghost that was this size, and these were perfect. So once I had all of my ghosts cut down, I then painted them with my ivory colored paint. I then added my first ghost to the left balcony, like kind of stuck on one of the posts. And then the second ghost I had coming out of the right window. I had this fence piece that I think was from the Target Dollar Spot a few years ago. It came in like a craft set, and I'm going to be using it for my top window, but I did need to cut it down a little bit. So I just cut those fence pieces down with my snips, and then I'm hot gluing it underneath the top window. I'm then going to use this Cross and Bones wood piece. This came in a pack of Halloween icons from Michaels, and I'm painting the entire piece ivory, and I'm adding that right in the center of my house. And I kind of had it like turned to the side a little bit as well. You can see I ended up adding another little ghost at the top, and then here is where I'm going to be adding my banner. I attached it to the top left-hand side of my roof, and then the second banner I did on the right-hand side of my roof. So it looked kind of like it tore in the middle. I ended up adding another one of those small ghosts sticking out of the top window. I just think they added so much more detail. Next, I'm going to be taking this burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. I've already cut it down pretty short, but now I'm going to be cutting it down even smaller, and then just kind of cutting it really jagged at the bottom. And then I'm going to be fraying out that fabric a little bit as well. Since it has a wire at the top, I was able to fold it up so that it looks kind of like a curtain. And I did the same step for all of the windows on my house, and then I hot glued them on the insides of the windows. And then now I'm going to be going through and adding all Spanish moss on the bottom base piece that my house is sitting on, because now I'm going to be creating the graveyard around my house. I did have some leftover pieces that I had cut and stained that I was going to use on my windows, but I had them left over. So here I'm just going to be using them to create a walkway up to the front of the house. Next, I'm going to be creating some dead looking trees to go all around the house. I did 4 of them total. I got these long branches that were already painted black. I believe these are from Hobby Lobby, and I got them a few years ago, and I've just been using them for each Halloween. I broke a few of the branches off and gathered them together, and I'm just hot gluing them together and then hot gluing them to the base all next to my house. I'm also attaching the ladder on the side of the house, and then a few more of those trees that I gathered and hot glued together. I think these really add a lot of detail to my house, and I'm loving the look of it so far. So once I have all of my trees added, I did start adding some like little pumpkins. And for this one, I did just draw a little jack-o'-lantern face on him with a marker. And then I used these 2 gravestones that were in my like Halloween stash. I think these ones are from Michael's. I painted them gray, and then I'm attaching them with some hot glue just randomly on that base, just kind of wherever I thought that they would look good. And then after I have those attached, I had these skulls. These ones are from Joann Fabrics, and I just hot glued those into the Spanish moss. And then I did end up adding some of these like little skeleton bones. These are from Dollar Tree, and I just cut the bones off and just started gluing them sticking out of the Spanish moss. I ended up adding a few more of these mini pumpkins around some of the gravestones. And then after I had the pumpkins, I did add a few mini bats from Dollar Tree, and then a larger bat from Joann's. And then the final touch, what would be a spooky house without some spooky orange lights, I ended up just placing the lights in the side of the window, and then I'm putting the battery pack on the back side of the house so that you can't see it. This is the house all finished. I love how it turned out. It has so much detail, and I had just so much fun creating this. Next is a DIY number 6. For this one, I'm going to be using this unfinished wooden sign. This is from the Woodpile brand at Hobby Lobby. I'm just first peeling that sticker off the back, and then I'm using my folk art wood tint in the color walnut to stain the entire piece. I'm then going to be using this banner piece. These are like 3 wooden banner pieces that came from a Temu, I believe it was like a tiered tray set that I got last year, and I'm just going to be using some black chalk paint to paint over like those candy corns and pumpkins that were on the front. I'm then using these unfinished wood letters from Hobby Lobby to spell out the word boo, and I'm using my white paint marker to paint them white. I'm then using a strand of jute to put the banner back together, and then once the banner's together, I'm going to start hot gluing those letters to spell out the word boo right in the center of all 3 of my banner pieces. I'm also going to be using these 3 unfinished wooden ghosts from Joann Fabrics this year, only I didn't want to have the little stick on the bottom of those 2 ghosts, so here I'm just using my snips to cut that part off. I'm then going to be painting all 3 of the ghosts with my ivory colored chalk paint. I'm also going to be using some of these mini bats from Dollar Tree, only I needed to take the stick out of them, so here I'm just using some of my pliers, wiggling the sticks, and removing them from the bats. Now it's time to start putting everything together. I placed the banner at the top where I'm going to want it to be and the ghost, and then I just started hot gluing them back down into place. After I have all of the ghosts glued on, I then started attaching 4 bats. I did 2 on each side. I created a really small bow out of this thin orange ribbon, and I'm going to be attaching that right on the larger ghost in the middle's head. And then flipping my sign over because I still need to fully attach my banner. So here I'm just taking those jute strands and attaching them along the back side of the sign using some hot glue. And then I had this sticker pumpkin that I thought would be really cute if I just placed it in the center of my center ghost. This is the sign all finished. I think it's adorable. It would be really cute, especially if there are 2 kiddos in the family. Now we have the 7th and final project in today's video. For this one, I'm going to be using this 18 by 18 black pillow cover from Hobby Lobby. It was $3.99, and I first just laid out the pillow cover, and I did already just iron out all of the wrinkles. Next, I'm going to be using this cotton cord. This is also from Hobby Lobby, or it's like the macrame cotton that you can get. And I'm going to be cutting 5 different strands for each one of my ghosts that I'm going to be creating, but I created 14 different ghosts. So I cut 70 of these total. I then took some hot glue, and for my first strand, just folded that over to glue my piece together. I'm then going to be taking my second piece and hot gluing that right over top and folding it over the first piece, as you can see me doing here. I then just continue to do that for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th piece to create one of my ghosts. And again, I did that 14 different times. I then needed to create my eyes and my mouth for all 14 of my ghosts, and I had this felt sheet that has a sticker backing, and I thought it would be perfect for this. So I cut out just kind of like oval type shapes. They're all different shapes, but I figured it didn't really matter. So I cut them all out, and then to attach all of the pieces, I just used some hot glue on the back side. And then because they were so small, I ended up just using my tweezers just to get them placed exactly where I wanted them to be on my ghosts. And again, I did this for all 14 of my ghosts. It was then time to start placing all of my ghosts out on my pillow cover just to kind of get them spaced where I want them to be and to figure out how many I wanted to be in each row. So once I had that all figured out, I simply just lifted up my ghost, placed a bunch of hot glue on the backside, and then pressed it right down on my pillow cover. I then filled my pillow cover with an 18 by 18 pillow insert and then just zipped it right up. And then that was it for this project. Super easy. And how cute is this pillow? I love how it turned out, and it was actually a lot of fun creating it as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will consider subscribing. Please be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And as always, I would love to hear in the comments down below which project from today's video was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching.